Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States of America. Good morning to the entire world. Getting our signals via the magic of the internet, created by whom? Created by you, but now controlled by the billionaires, and something that we must wrestle back to the people, for the people, by the people. Before further ado, we head out to the studios where we have the magic of two geniuses making all this stuff work.
Well, Jack, did you
Stanley, it's Stanley.
Stanley? Okay, yeah, this is Laurel. We sent a note off to Elon Musk asking him for some funding for KPFT, and so far he hasn't responded. So we also sent a note off to him saying, "Hey, give back that internet that you stole from us."
I
And
like
all we
that.
all we got back was a smiley face saying, "Ha ha." What does that mean?
It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. I stole it fair and square.
That's right. Well, good morning, Egberto. It is Thursday, the 16th of January. It is my daughter's birthday.
Wow,
My
it's
daughter,
my mother's birthday.
yeah, my daughter is now 44,
Oh,
which,
really?
yeah, she got four daughters of her own. The
Wow.
oldest being almost 19.
Darn,
So
four must be her lucky number.
I guess so. Five was always my lucky number. It takes me five times to do something.
Five
I
tries to get out the door.
Yeah, that's about right too. It looks like you got a little over a half a page of wisdom here, Jack. What you got, man?
All right. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. How you doing this morning, my brother?
I'm good, sir. All right. Michigan Republican politicians have no shame trying to delay an increase in the minimum wage of $12 an hour till 2030. Do you know what inflation will do in 5 years to $12 an hour? Why does the right always seek to undermine the poor when legislation is passed to improve their lives? The right will only serve the wealthy, not the middle class or the working poor. Remember that in 4 years.
I've
There's
got.
that four again.
There we go.
Remember that in four
That's
years.
right. Four more years of drudgery. Yeah, I've got a real issue, and it's a personal issue. Is they always say working middle class, lower class, upper class. It's not a class system. You can say middle income, lower middle income, but we just don't have a class system. Why do they say that? It just bothers me, which
Well,
may be the only person on earth that it bothers, but
no, I don't think so. I
I'm,
think
I'm
I
the one
think
with the
what
microphone in front of me.
Well, look, what I think, man, is we officially don't have a class system, but a lot of people would like to have that. There's this stuff about feeling you're better than somebody else, that kind of a stuff. So, hey, I am with you. It is ridiculous. I mean, a stockbroker would be considered a high class guy because he makes a lot of money. Yet a teacher is more important than anybody else, but he gets more respect. So I'm with you, my brother. We have an income system and one that's not working very well right now.
Oh, that was my
Silence.
turn.
That
No, that
was
was my
yours.
turn. Jack and I were just moving around chairs in here.
Oh, y'all
So,
playing chairsies.
yeah, well, yeah, we were playing footsies earlier, but the audience is not supposed to know that. Listen to Jack back there, man. All right, we are off to a roaring start. Hey, it's Neil Aquino Day. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, studio. Good morning, vast global audience through all the various streaming and airwaves. And good morning, Egberto.
Good morning. I'm glad that you mentioned all the different streaming airwaves. Note, folks, that we're streaming everywhere. We're streaming on the Facebook page for KPFT. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Instagram. We're streaming on Telegram. We're streaming on uh, uh, Substack, and we're streaming on TikTok. So we're all over, our brothers and sisters. And of course, you're listening to us over the magic of on air, KPFT 90.1 FM, the airwaves. And folks, before we get started, don't forget Elon Musk is in power now. And you know what they're going to do with public radio? They're going to try everything to make sure we are not heard. So you guys need to please remember to support us at 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to donate to the station. Remember, none of that comes to me. Yesterday, somebody called and said, "You need to be fired." I'm like, they don't pay me. How can someone be fired if they're not paid? But anyway, I do want to respond to something though. I do want to respond to something because I went back and listened to one caller. I'm coming to you right now, Neil, but I want to get this straight. I went back and listened to one caller who was complaining that I am biased, and when certain folks on the right call, I throw them off, and et cetera, et cetera. And I went back and I listened to several things, and it's completely untrue. What's true is I will not let a string of lies get told. I'm not gonna do what they do on network TV that allow uh, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC allow right wingers to come on and just use their airwaves to give a litany of lies. And by the time they're done with their penultimate lie, you've forgotten what it's all about, but America has heard it and it starts to form a part of their psyche. So the modus operandi here is as soon as I hear a lie, I don't throw you off the program. That's not the modus operandi here. I stop you and I ask you to stop when I stop you so that I can correct the record and then move on, and you can continue either with a truth or whatever the hell you want to say. But again, politics done right and the KPFT airwaves will not be used for you to tell lies. I mean, it's open here. You can come on and talk, but your lies will be refuted immediately. So my friends that call and say I cut you off, I cut off a lie. If for some reason I cut off a lie that turns, or I cut you off for a lie that I say is a lie that really isn't a lie, I am humble enough to apologize and say, "Oh, I guess I was wrong." I don't have a problem doing that. But while to keep order on this program, if I tell you to stop, I ask you to stop so that we create a pleasant experience for the listener. This show is not for me or you, it's for the person that's out there in their car, out there on the internet, listening. And we want to make sure the experience as we're exchanging information is pleasant for everybody. Thank you so kindly. Anyway, brother Neil Aquino, great seeing you, my friend. How is it going?
Oh boy, it's going all right, and we're here this morning. We were talking this morning about all the tech billionaires before we went on the air. They're going to be on the stage up there with the individual Trump, the TikTok, and don't worry, TikTok, they're not banning it come Sunday. They're committed to find a way to keep it going. They don't care if it's helping China or someone on Neptune about to invade us. Trump likes it, so they don't care. They don't care one bit. They don't care one bit whether it's good or harmful or not. It's just how does it affect the dear leader Trump is their concern. I have my usual run of local content, the Houston Democracy Project, the HoustonDemocracyProject.com, have a blog and a variety of efforts. And I just want to address 3 points today. Post I wrote, and I know you've referenced it, Egberto, and the headline on my post is, "If leaving social media sites enabling authoritarianism," which is all of them, consider how you'll keep in touch with grassroots activism. So I see a lot of people that are going to leave Meta, which is Threads, Instagram, Facebook. I know 1 or 2 people I know who have, but just think about if you do what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you to do it or not. I don't know which tech James Bond villain is better or worse. I find them all worse. I think they're all tied for worst. You see how quickly Bezos and Zuckerberg are in there with Musk. They're all tied for worst. It's your call. But if there's someone you interact with, a grassroots activist or your local Democratic club, or even just a Democratic or pro-democracy voices, before you go, ask yourself, how am I going to stay in touch with them? And so don't weaken them by leaving without some plan. I understand why people want to leave these things, but my point's as simple as that. I've got a 6 paragraphs post, but it's really as simple as, if you leave these sites, okay, get it, but don't hurt good activists and independent media and whatever it is you support in the process. Find your way to reconnect.
I can't agree with you more. Let me just say that I love that you said you're not telling anybody what to do. If their morals tell them that they must leave Meta, if their morals tell them they must leave Twitter, whatever, that is fine.
Right.
But one of the things that I think is responsible for both you and me is that we have to be everywhere. We have to be able to catch everybody. So I made the concerted effort. I am on Blue Sky, and I love Blue Sky, but I didn't kill my Twitter account. I didn't kill any of my Meta account. And I don't know if folks realize that if you're killing a Meta account, you're talking about 4 accounts: WhatsApp, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook. That's a lot of power for one guy, man. But anyhow, sorry to interrupt you, brother. Continue.
Sure. No. In fact, Twitter is a sewer. I got threatened on Twitter by somebody a few days ago, and Twitter is set up. I can block the person, but they can still see you. So this person threatened me. It's a real person. I looked them up. It's a real person. I can block them where they can't comment, but this person can still observe me. So Twitter is set up, and you also need to be cognizant, as whatever you post on social media, someday that may come back and be used to prosecute you. As political winds shift, you post something negative about Trump, and you're a traitor, or it's all true. It's all true. Another point I want to make out: there was an effort locally to hold another Houston's Women's March this weekend. And I don't know that it really took traction. I wasn't sure who the organizers were. I saw who they were. I didn't know them. I appreciate them for trying. So they posted that the event had been canceled because they couldn't get a permit from the police and the city. And the marathon is, of course, Sunday. The 2 MLK parades. You could do a whole show on why are there 2 MLK parades, but neither Mayor Turner nor Mayor Whitmire have been able to solve that. Turner tried, like the Camp David Accords, to get the 2 groups to work it out. But what I really want to highlight is, you don't need a permit to protest. This isn't a criticism of the group. You do need a permit to block a street or march down a street. You do need a permit for sound amplification. If you want to use a park, a whole park, or certain facilities, you need a permit. There are things you need a permit for. But the impression that was left accidentally was that you need a permit to protest. And I just want to tell you, the First Amendment is your permit to protest. The First Amendment is your permit to protest. So the group that I'm part of, the John Cornyn Houston office protest every Tuesday, 11:30 to 1, 5300 Memorial Drive. We have no permit. We are out on that sidewalk. The police have tried to remove us, but we said no. They did come and say, will you stop being so loud? They tried to move us on. No. And the First Amendment is my own view is that the next set of large protests will be spontaneous. It'll be in response to a civil liberties. There's always the prospect of a George Floyd type incident every hour in American life, every minute. But my view is that the next type of protest will be like we've seen in South Korea, Romania, the nation of Georgia in recent weeks. It'll be in response to a civil liberties or state of emergency declared by Trump. And it's important for you to know that you don't need a permit, and the police are not there to protect protesters. Those two things are essential. But you can hold a protest tomorrow. I have organized protests at City Hall without a permit. I had 50 or 60 people for one specific action. And if there's another event there, you're out of luck, and you have to go elsewhere scheduled. But you could go to City Hall tomorrow, organize a protest on the steps, and you do not need a permit or any busy street corner or any sidewalk. So please be cognizant of that. You do not need state approval to protest.
I think that's very important because a lot of people are going to need to know what their rights are as we move on to this new era where we know our civil liberties are going to be in danger. You had another subject you wanted to talk about.
I had one more. I appreciate it. The legislative session began. I'm sorry. Condolences to all decent Texans. At the beginning of another. Well, hold on. That was a moment of silence for sadness that there's another damn legislative session where they will figure out new ways to hurt people. So there was a race in the House. Republicans have firm majorities in both chambers. In the Texas House, it's 88-62 Republican. They voted for a new speaker, and there were two competitors, a Representative Cook and a Representative Burrows, who was the eventual winner, and he's from Lubbock. And they don't do it strictly by party. So like in the United States House, where Mike Johnson, even though he has a majority of just one or two or three, it's all Republican or all Democrat. So Burrows won with a coalition of Democrats and Republicans. Cook had two or three Democratic votes. Burrows on a second ballot won. I'm headed somewhere with this. So there was a debate before among many Democrats, should we support any Republican or not? So at the end of the vote, 10 Democrats of the 62 Democrats voted present. Alma Allen, Charlene Ward Johnson, and Christina Morales were the three Harris County Democrats who voted present. And it was almost kind of it was more than just a philosophical or abstract debate because it has real implications. But Christina Morales, who represents the Heights and areas around Navigation and Canal streets, kind of a gerrymandered split, solidly Democratic district, said, I'm not voting for either of these authoritarians. I'm not voting for either. That they want to destroy the Democratic Party. That's language she basically used at a Democratic club meeting I saw her at. I'm not voting for either. And I understand the other view, and other state representatives, John Rosenthal and Johnson, Ron Reynolds from the area, voted for Burrows. And I think it's a really interesting discussion. I think that the 10 Democrats who voted present at the end is a larger contingent of Democrats who stuck it out. There was a woman, Hanosa, and I think she's from the San Antonio area. Sorry if I'm wrong, who said who voted present said both of the candidates are for vouchers. I don't see the difference. Morales is saying we need to build the Democratic Party with an opposition that doesn't look for scraps. And I agree with Morales. It's a very close call. But I was also watching Houston City Council yesterday, and Martha Castix Tatum, who's a council member, was saying that she needs the state of Texas to allow harsher enforcement against people who post bandit signs. And there are people, there's only so much you can find someone who's posting a bandit sign. And she wants them out of her neighborhood. And you've seen those signs, I buy insulin strips. And these are only in minority neighborhoods. It's true. Only in Black and Latino neighborhoods that you see these. You don't see it in River Oaks. You don't see it in the Heights. Not that those are exclusively white neighborhoods either. But you don't see it in affluent neighborhoods. And I just thought it was an interesting, Martha Castix Tatum had this pragmatic need. We need to interact with these legislators. Morales says, no, it's not worth it. Both of them, neither of them are fully right or wrong. But I think it's an interesting discussion. And I do think we need to get to where we just fight at this point against an authoritarian Republican Party. And I think I would have voted present like Morales did, rather than for Burrows, although the person Cook is a full Ken Paxton, Dan Patrick, a billionaire bought for oligarch. So it was an interesting debate. And your new speaker is Burrows of Lubbock, a basically terrible Republican rather than a super terrible Republican.
Look, I respect your view. I spoke to Representative Rosenthal, and I'll be interviewing him tomorrow about the issue. And I think I understand why we had Democrats that threw their weight behind Burrows, because there's bad and then there's worse, as you just said. And I agree with Morales that Democrats have to take a stand. But like I told you before we came on the show, I'm going to talk a little bit about that after I talk to Harry. I want to say something about rural voting before. Let's go to Harry first, and then I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Brother Harry, line one, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Brother Egberto. Good morning, Howard. Happy birthday to your daughter. And we love you starting the show with Kenny G's Baby G. Good morning, Magic Jack. And happy to you, Neil Aquino. You keep doing the good work.
Thank you.
Explaining how people need to get out there and protest. But and I'm glad that you told people to be about police. You have to be careful when you do go out there and protest, because police are not there to always be helpful to you. They can be bullies, so you got to be careful. But anyway, Egberto, I like what that caller Mike said. People like Louis the Loser, who called you yesterday, and was jumping all over you. People like him disrespect you. And my brother Alan has some very hard things to say about Bard. Has said hard things about Bard, and he has a nickname for Brian. When Brian doesn't tell the truth, he calls him Lion Brian. So these guys disrespect you, and it's a shame that they do, and they're always trying to do an I got you moment. And I'm glad you call them on it, and you handle yourself well, Egberto. You got people that hate on you, and when you tell the truth, most of the time, just about all, I should say all the time. If you make a mistake, you will correct it. But I'm glad you call people out on that. But what I mainly called for is what Neil Aquino talked about there briefly. I was listening to President Biden's farewell speech last night on NPR, and he was warning. It kind of reminded me of Ike Eisenhower when he warned about the military and
the military-industrial complex.
The military-industrial complex, and he warned against the oligarch, plutocrat, and he also talked about how we don't want to. He told the American people how you have to be careful with these people because they want to be in control of this country, and we have to fight back. And then they think it's all right, like on Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook and social media, that it's fine not to fact check, that it's okay to lie. And as you're always talking about, you're not going to let nobody come on this show and lie. And I commend you for that because a lot of times people get duped into a lie, and they think a lie is true, which it's not true. As I discussed with Howard last year about Joseph Goebbels, it's important that we fact check. It's important that we have the truth out there. And that's why it's good to have callers like Patrick, like Johnny, like Augie, Bruce, Moses. Trying to think of some of these other callers.
We have a lot of great callers. We got a lot of great callers. But let me just tell you what.
That want the truth out. And they combat people like Brian and Bard,
right.
who a lot of times don't tell the truth. And it's good that we have knowledgeable people out there, because this show is an edification show, an educated show. I learned things and things that I know that I feel that people should know. I put out there and contribute as well as I do the conversation show with Michael Woodson's show that comes on at 8 o'clock. What I call it. It's good to have people like Jane and on that show, and another one, Rick, a few
Harry,
others.
Thank you very much. Harry,
So you
we
guys
gotta
have a
go.
good.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you and appreciate you. Listen, thank you so kindly and thank you for the kudos. Yeah, look, we are not going to uh, let anybody just come on and lie. And like I said, I'll make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and mistakes made will be corrected and will be corrected on air for everybody to know. The one I don't- you know I know a lot of folks think I take a whole lot of crap from the right and that I shouldn't. But let me just say, I have what's called compassion and grace in this regards. I know that the system has, in order for this system to function, it has to indoctrinate and lie to people. That's the only way this system continues. It has to indoctrinate and lie to people. That's the only way you get people to vote against your own interests. That's the only way you get people to do all these things against your own interests. So a lot of these people that call in, they actually believe that they are right. And people can say, well, you believe you're right. Yeah, but what I do that many of these folks who call in from the right don't is I get information from all sources, make sure they're credible, etc. What a lot of our right wing callers do is they just regurgitate the information that's told to them. As an example, on our chat right now, we have welcome aboard Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, and welcome aboard Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. We have one person in this room. That's all he does. He does no critical thinking. He just regurgitates things from right wing sources. And he doesn't try to, many times, he doesn't even try to figure out why what he's saying is so nonsensical. But he's here. And I am happy that he's here because even as he may not be listening, there may be something in his life at some point that merges with something that I say that is the trigger for him willingly seeking the truth. Okay? Welcome aboard, Gayla Kunis as well. Anyway, come on in, El Senor Neil Aquino. Anything else you want to say before I talk about rural areas?
No, well, yes. Rural areas. In many of these rural areas, their largest employer is their school district.
Mm-hmm.
And they continuously they're voting for people who are going to enact vouchers, which are going to gut it. We saw the continued failure to expand health insurance here in Texas, rural communities. I've heard people. I've had been on calls with rural Democrats, and some of them will tell you that they're actually just afraid to go out and say what they want to say
Mm-hmm.
in their communities. There is that element of intimidation in these rural communities, but
Well, you
yeah.
you
Go ahead.
look at the caller that called yesterday that he disagrees with me. He's wrong, by the way. His statements were absolutely wrong, but he
Sure.
disagrees with me. And his solution for disagreeing with me is not for me to have a voice, but for me to get fired. Okay, and that's
Yeah.
how these people think. Trump doesn't like that people attack him, so what he's going to do, sick the FBI on them. It is that mentality that is so corrosive, that mentality that's so evil. But I want to talk to my rural vote.
And that's the plan. That is
Yeah,
the plan. That
exactly,
is the plan. Yeah.
exactly. But here's the deal. Uh, when you think about our rural brothers and sisters, they many times don't understand how much they are voting against their own well-being because it isn't they aren't made to be they are not made aware of that. And where I fault many of the Democrats or state representatives, etc., is they go where the masses are. If you take a look at the map of the United States, they said, "Oh, the big red wave," and a person that's not knowledgeable sees a map of where Trump's voting is coming from, and they look at that bright red all over, and they suddenly believe that wow, the country is a majority red. It's false. What happened is there's a whole lot of land that is red, but not a whole lot of people. There are there's a lot of land that's red because those areas that vote Republican and red are vast and empty. The places that vote Democratic are dense. That's why gerrymandering is so efficient because you can group all these people together and still keep some sort of contiguity. But again, our rural brothers and sisters, let me tell you, nobody in the cities, no Democrats or anything have anything, no progressives have anything against our rural brothers and sisters. In fact, the policies that we support actually uplifts you. And the policies that Republicans support harms you. I put the blame on our Democratic reps that whenever a hospital closes in a rural area, they don't go down there, call a town hall, and make it very clear that it is Republican policy in the state house that is causing them harm. I would go through the obituaries and look for everybody who died in a car accident that had to be transported for 1 hour or more to get care that died because of that lack of care, and point out that because your state representative didn't care enough about you to ensure that you had the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, your place is left without care for you. I would
Well,
make it no. Go ahead.
you're
Go ahead.
speaking exactly to what you're talking. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. You're speaking to what we were talking about earlier in many respects, though. They don't go after each other. I saw a debate. It was State Senator Johnson, I think, from Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
and he was asked, "Do you will you go after other Republicans in the 2024 cycle? Your seat is relatively safe," and they won't do it. And this is exactly, though. This gets back to our discussion about the speaker race,
Mm-hmm.
because what the Democrats voting for the Republican speakers want are committee assignments, or consider. John Rosenthal would tell you, if I'm going to get anything done, and he's not wrong, I'm going to need to support boroughs. And I'm not criticizing John. John's a good person, but what you're talking about going into that rural district, what they'll say is, "You're in my district. You know what? I'm going to go to your district every time something happens." And this is part of the reason that I don't supporting the Republican speaker candidate, because it inhibits the ability of Democrats to criticize their fellow Republicans, and essentially it's just an agreement to not criticize each other, and the status quo gets worse and worse and worse and worse every 2 years. So I think that's part of that speaker's debate.
I hear you. I hear you. And my answer to that, my brother, is I don't want, because we are in alliance, that we can't speak up against you. Because I speak up against Democrats. I don't have a
Right.
problem doing that. I speak up against Republicans. I speak up against anybody that my loyalty as a host, as a activist, is not to the politician. It is to the people. And if the politicians of any party does wrong, it's your obligation, Neil, and my obligation to call that out. We may be more sensitive with the person that has progressive values and say, hey, if you don't change your opinion or change what you're going to do, we're going to be going out and publicly doing this. We may give you first dibs to do that, but we're going to go out there. The fact of the matter is, we have to send our representatives in these areas and talk to these people. Neil, I've spoken to so many people in the rural areas that they simply did not know that the party that they support is really screwing them. They
No, they don't
genuinely,
know. No.
they genuinely didn't know. So how do I hold an animosity towards people who simply are ignorant to what's going on? When I was ignorant about certain things and I've learned, I said, oh, I need to change. Now you have some in the chat that it is impossible to fix that wiring, but there are many that can. I think I have Spike on the line. Come on in, brother Spike.
Okay.
Yes, how you doing this morning, man?
Good morning, my brother. How you doing today?
Yes, sir.
I'm all right. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is what I want to speak about again, and I'm gonna say it again. That election was stolen, and it was stolen with that Starlink uh, uh, deal that old boy got, Elon Musk. Now I know you said that that's not connected to it, but I guarantee you, if you read those fact checks on that they have about that, you gonna change your mind. See, because Starlink was hooked up to those, and they admitted it. They were hooked up to, when they had all those tornadoes around North Carolina, Georgia, all those states that he won, that they said he probably wouldn't win. They were hooked up to all of them. And I tell the people, please read Hawk and Dark military weather program. Read that. I
Spike,
mean, don't
Spike,
go by.
Spike. Let me just say this, okay? And I don't want to. Here's the one thing that I don't want to do. And I'm look. If evidence comes out that that is factual and that I can pull that out from a source, etc., I would be happy to do it. But let me just give you a caveat here with what you're saying with regards to Starlink and North Carolina. North Carolina, Kamala Harris lost, but all the major
Mhm.
Democrats won. Okay,
Yeah.
so my thing, Spike, is the following: if in my opinion, and again, remember, I am not talking factually now, and I let people know when I'm not talking factually. In my opinion, if you're going to have a Starlink do something in North Carolina because of the hurricanes, etc., and you have that Kamala lost, I would think that the lieutenant governor would have lost, and I mean the governor would, the Democratic governor, the Democratic lieutenant governor, and all these others would have lost as well. So what I'm saying is this: I just don't know, and because I don't have concrete evidence, I am not. It would
I
be irresponsible. It would be irresponsible of me to start that as something to go on, right? So what I'm saying is the following. Uh,
understand.
right. I'm not this. And again, and if you were giving me a right wing conspiracy as well, I would be saying the same thing, my brother. I have to be responsible in what I am doing. But continue before we go to Patrick, brother.
Okay. And I understand everything you just said. But see, the game is, see, we're gonna allow them to win, but let the president win. See, if we let them win, then what are the people gonna think? Okay, well, everything was fine. But I want to say this, and I'll be through. See, when Rachel Maddow came on a week before the election was over and showing Donald Trump talking about nobody, you don't need to go to the polls no more. I have enough votes. We're gonna win.
That is
I
a,
mean,
I,
it's
I agree
nobody.
with you there. I agree with you there. That's an interesting statement. And you're right there. That's an interesting statement. There could be, look,
Why the
let me tell
media didn't
Spikes,
take that up, man? I mean, that should have
Spike,
stayed in the media.
Spike. The reason the media didn't
Go
take it up
ahead.
is exactly the reason the media doesn't take up a whole lot of stuff. The media is the media is not very good, and the media is
Oh,
timid, etc. So that's why hey, Spike, guess what? That's why we're here. That's why we have Neil Aquino with the HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Okay, that's why we have all these other
be aware.
entities out there. But look, let's talk another time because I want to give everybody an opportunity to talk. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
What's up, my
All right.
people?
All right, take care, bro. Let's go to Patrick. Come on in, my brother Patrick. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. I appreciate Spike's excitement. I guess he probably feels the same way that I do about what happened. But I thank you kindly for Egberto for asking for evidence, because that is something that we have to stay focused on. We need to be Progressives need to be the party of evidence. We need to be able to say why we're saying things. And I wanted to go over to Mr. Aquino. He was talking about essentially conspiring to having politicians allow each other to do their worst just to keep from getting caught. That is, to me, a lot like the same thing with the thin blue line with police. And we see what that's done with police. And I agree with you. We do not want politicians covering for each other's underpinned or underhanded tactics. And I want people to look at things that way. Our politicians do need to be scrutinized much more than they are. We should expect these people are supposed to be extremely successful, and they're supposed to be representing mass numbers of people. We need to expect a lot more out of just about every single one of them. There's about 5 that I respect, and the rest should go away. They should just retire to their mansions and do nothing, because that's what they're doing now. And then I wanted to move to the caller yesterday, Luis. He claimed to be a calling for an entire year, and I'm trying to decide if I like Jeff more, if I like Luis more. Jeff, I think we're still waiting on him to research for 24 hours why he voted for Trump, so he could come back and give you a good answer. I think we're still waiting on that. And Luis, I believe he thought that you were from Venezuela, but he's telling us that he listened to Politics Done Right for a year now, and he couldn't give one reason why he didn't like you. And again, that's kind of going back to the evidence thing. If you don't like a politician and you don't know why, there's a problem there.
Mm-hmm.
You're making decisions not based on what they're good for the people or not, but just how you feel about them from your gut, and that does nothing for democracy.
And that is what when we talk about critical thinking, that is what they're trying to teach people not to do. Critically think. I have folks a person in the chat that simply refuse to think critically. And my thing is, I hope people see how when you talk about. Well, I tell you what. Let me let Neil take care of this, and then I'll move on, because Neil's been quiet for a second.
Well, I'll just say the one thing. Thank you for the kind words, and I just say that we do need to be more critically thinking, and we need to be more critically retire to your mansions. Sylvester Turner doesn't have a mansion, but with Sylvester Turner coming to Congress, and he's in his mid-70s, a whole succession of low turnout elections hasn't helped build the Democratic Party. And all week when he was having various festivities and ceremonies to celebrate his entry into Congress for the 1 or 2 terms, I was just like, man, I mean, can't we move to a new generation? Can't we move to someone who will help build the Democratic Party and help us fight? And there are a lot of our politicians who really we should be more critically aware of, and they should move on and retire to their homes.
I so have to agree with you. I have to agree with you. I think
it exhausted me.
Yeah, people need to start being more respectful toward Gen Xers or Gen Zs or Gen Ys. It is there. It is time for new leadership. You're absolutely right. The other day, a millennial comes up to me and he says, "Why don't you run?" I'm like, my time has passed. First of all, I don't want to, but my time has passed. It is your time. Why don't you run? It's time for Patrick to run. Patrick would make a great legislator. Patrick?
Well, yeah, people that have a stake in the country's future should be the ones leading it, not the ones that were raised in cotton diapers.
By the way, Patrick, I was saying that you need to run, Patrick. You didn't understand me. I was saying you need to run, brother.
I'll tell you, I used to listen to this podcast. It was called Talking Politics, and it was from England. And the host of it advocated allowing people as young as 10 or 12 to vote. And he said that first they probably wouldn't do any better or worse. And he also said that democracy was never meant for people who were so many people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. that that the lifespans had expanded so much that it had skewed the electorate. It skewed the electorate so far that young voices were
Unheard.
submerged. Now, young people could do a better job voting, but I actually would support. If you told, I would support lowering the voting age actually to 16. But it was never meant for people towards the end of their life. And of course, 60 you still got a lot of, or 70 you have a lot left. But it is the longer life expectancies are skewing the electorate.
Yeah, we need to create a bigger range. But anyway, Patrick, thank you. So anything else to close real quick so I can get to Betty?
Yeah, this is just speculation, and I don't like it, but I didn't realize that Trump did stop the TikTok ban. But do you think that to distract from everything else?
Here's what I think he'll do. I'm looking at a thing saying that he's going to create an executive order to keep TikTok going. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he does that, and it wouldn't surprise me either if the Supreme Court delayed and delayed and delayed when he's sued for doing that, which means TikTok will stay open indefinitely, because the Supreme Court doesn't have to take as soon as he says TikTok can continue to go, which would be defying Congress. Somebody with standing is going to go to the Supreme Court and say, "Hey, the president has done something illegal. We want you to overturn it." And the Supreme Court can say, "Okay, you just have to wait till X, Y, and Z." So anyway, Patrick, let me get to Betty because we're sort of running out of time. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the extra time. Have a great day.
Thank you, brother. All right, Betty, come on in, my sister. Talk to me.
Okay, I'm coming. I'm gonna talk to you. The right wingers, they make themselves their own whipping boy. Yeah, they do. That's why we come at them, and you don't fall into their hands. And they need to go back to school and get their brain rewired. The first time it didn't take. They need to go and learn and that, and read the directions this time. But I have a tip for them. Stop at all stop signs. Love you, Egberto.
Love you, Betty. You take care, sister. All right, let's go to Brother Ray. Come on in, Brother Ray.
Hey, Brother Egberto. Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning, Brother Neil. Appreciate all you do for the Houston community.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, y'all are only saying what's right, but what I said on your 3 o'clock show yesterday, Egberto, is, I guess, you say we got to take the primaries, but it's like we got to open those primaries up and make it more accessible. And we have to, if it takes from maybe a program or an organization or something like that to, I know they got run for something. That's an option that is out there for young people. But the reason why we're stuck in the gerontocracy, like I said, with people like Turner still, turning his wheels to be in power, it's just that certain people have what I guess would be an affinity for taking these positions. And the last thing I'm going to add, because I know we got other callers, is when these elections come up, people, y'all need to realize this is the opportunity to be a boss. Because whenever these elections come up, these are job applications. These people are vying for an important job. And whenever you go to a job application, you usually have to sit across from maybe 1 or 2 people. But politicians are vying for a job where they are representing thousands upon millions of people. And us as the people need to take initiative and be the bosses we should be and look at these people critically and say, okay, you deserve the job, but I'm also going to be holding you accountable while you're in that position. And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're fired at the next election. That's the way we need to approach the deal. I'm going to leave on that.
I'll say really quickly, Travis McGee, who's a Houston activist in Sunnyside, he always uses the term elected employees, and he's kind of popularized it a little bit. But Travis uses the term elected employees, and I've started using it too, and I think it's a good shorthand on how to think of them.
Thank you very much, Ray. You're a good man. And as usual, Brother Aquino always has some wise words. Okay, let's go to Brother Johnny.
Yeah, you remember a while back you and I had a discussion about how we should have an experiment where we allow kids as young as 7th or 8th grade to go to the voting polls and vote.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, yeah.
for every 100, and for everyone, we group these young voters from 7th grade through 12th grade or 11th grade, because you're 17 at that point, that we allow them all to vote, and we take them in bundles of 100. So in other words, it takes 100 young voters to equal one vote. So for every 100 young voters for candidate A, that candidate receives one vote. That way, nobody can say, "Oh, the collective wisdom of these people is not equal to one adult voter." Because I know lots of adult voters who I wouldn't trust to walk my dog.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. We need to do. I'm open-minded to stuff like that, so I'm glad that Neil Aquino brought that up. See, you don't hear this kind of stuff on Hate Radio AM. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, look. I think when I go to my daughter's, I remember when my daughter was in church and in a church where she was in a group of young, when she was young, 12 and 15-year-olds. I was amazed at how smart these kids are. So, I mean, I don't, the thing about it is how politically aware they are. And listen, I am up for experimentation. So I'm with Neil, I'm with you. I'm up for experimentation.
One final thought. When you have a young person like a 17 or a 21-year-old who, let's say, gets into office, the first day on the job, J-O-B, that they got elected to, they're not going to steal from the company like Donald has done. Donald has stolen from the company, and he used the White House office to do it. He broke the law. He's a thief. He's a thief if nothing else. So young people, they don't think that way. They think of what in terms of what's good for their fellow man. And
Thank you, Johnny.
we lose that now by the time we get into our 30s.
Thank you, my brother. Have a good one, Johnny. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian, real quick.
Yeah, this is from CNN. Of the failed prosecution of Trump, Smith said that the prosecutors cannot control outcomes and only do their jobs the right way for the right reasons. Jack Smith said that. While this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it does not also exonerate him of it. Now, I don't know where you're getting your information, but that was nothing but a witch trial trying to overturn the election. That's all it was. To get people to think that he had 34 felonies. That's all that was. And you can't see it, can you?
First of all, that is your opinion, and secondly, that is not what he wrote in the papers that he just released, which I read. Apparently, you haven't read it. I read not the CNN implication of the report, but I actually read the pages of the report that points out where the man said, "Guess what, sir? I have what it takes to convict him." So no, he didn't. You came on to our show and you said the report said that he didn't have or something to the effect that he didn't have the goods to convict him. And I told you were wrong. He did say that he had the goods to convict him. Okay, that's all.
No, that's absolutely wrong.
But your opinion is just that. Your opinion. You feel that that's the reason they prosecuted him.
Report.
No, again, like
I just
said.
read from the report.
Okay, my dear brother. I got to get to the studio, so you have a wonderful day. Studio, come on in.
Very interesting, because they do have the goods on Trump, and it was a crime to try and overturn an election. It was a crime to incite a riot inside the Capitol. The January 6th hearings concluded that yes, it was a crime. Yes, we have the goods on him. So did you not see this, Brian? Did you not see the television set with Trump whipping up that crowd saying, "You better go down there and fight like hell or you won't have a country"? What does that mean to you? Do you think he was kidding?
we also
No,
have
he
we also
wasn't.
have the phone calls that where he find me 16 some amount of thousand votes. We also have that the guy said. I mean, they created these
There's
false what is it, the false electors. I mean, it's a plethora of
fake
things.
electors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fake electors. And we also have all these everybody that spoke at the hearings were Republicans.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
that
Yeah.
spoke at
Not to mention Liz Cheney being the chair of it, a
I'm not
Republican.
sure why Brian has a problem with simply accepting that. This is what gets me. These guys think that Trump cares about them. They will go to die for Trump, and Trump looks at them as pieces of crap, and they'll go to
Yeah,
bat
He
for him.
does.
they will go
He
to bat for
does.
him. This is something that makes no sense at all to me. This man does not care about you, Brian. He doesn't care. He doesn't know your name. He doesn't think anything of you. You're just a pawn in this nasty game. So once you realize that, I think you're going to see the truth.
Yeah,
And that's what I've got to say.
you wonder sometimes. Anyway, Jack, you got anything to say before Neil closes us out?
Jack says that I took up all of his time.
All right. Hey, Neil, give me a closer. And by the way, I didn't give Neil the right introduction today. Neil is the founder of the Houston Democracy Project, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. And he also is the chief instigator. I think it's once a week or once a month. Once a week, right? Once a month.
Yeah, week 415 is next week. I'm a co-organizer of the Corn Protest every Tuesday, 11:30 to 1, 5300 Memorial Drive. And I was thinking about the use of the term witch trial, because Trump will use it, but witch trials were meant to get at women, to hold down women, and it's probably something that Trump supporters would have been okay with. But I was just thinking of the term.
Tell us about your project.
The Houston Democracy Project, the HoustonDemocracyProject.com. The blog is one part of it. And do not forget, authoritarianism will need a local infrastructure, and there's plenty of local folks ready to sign up.
Thank you, my brother. Hey, folks, I love you all. Remember, politicsandright.com/newsletter. The rest of the show, politicsandright.com/newsletter. Thank you, studio. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics and Right, comes from politicsandright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.